Fortnite is currently in the middle of its Chapter 2 remix season, which is serving to be a bridge between Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. But I'd like to stop and take a minute and look back at Chapter 5 as a whole, because when we got to this new island at first, I was a bit worried. The Big Bang event was clearly intended to be a fresh start for Fortnite as a whole, and I fully expected them to use this event as sort of a promo for this new metaverse version of Fortnite that they were going to introduce. I think I speak for everyone that when Epic did this with the Fracture event to promote creative mode, it really didn't sit right with a lot of people. However, I do think that the Big Bang was a much better live event than the Fracture was, even if it was exactly what I expected it to be. That said, I was worried about something else to do with Fortnite, and that was the storyline. The fact that they tied this whole Big Bang story into Fortnite OG and us traveling back to the past in order to sort of revamp the world, refresh it, to make it new, and start over from scratch, it left me worried that all of the story beats we had seen up until that point were going to be abandoned. What happened to the Shapeless Man that was aligned with the Oathbound? What happened to the last reality coming to fight with all of the syndicates of Mega City? Why did Optimus Prime know about a prophecy about a vampire with a time machine that we ultimately ended up just killing like he was nothing and taking the time machine for ourselves? Sure, they brought back Dr. Sloan, but her involvement with the story ultimately was just to get the Fortnite OG and reset everything. There was even a story about the Seven having been corrupted, and the scientist's AI companion was going to go after them and try to rescue them. But where did that storyline go? Nowhere. To be fair, they can always go back and revisit these stories, and I have some ideas that I may or may not make a video about later of what they can do to do that. It took them a few years to do it, but they did bring Midas back. Granted, he was dead and not alive like Donald Mustard said he was. But with the launch of Chapter 5 and the introduction of the Underground and the Society, I had hopes that they were maybe going to try and build things in a better direction. I didn't want the story from the previous chapters to just be completely erased from everyone's memory and just everyone pretend that those chapters didn't happen, but I was willing to give it a chance if I thought it was good. And I do think it was a good choice to make Jones and Peely the focus of this early season, having Jones going to try to rescue his best friend while also telling a side story of Hope and Valeria, which I guess isn't really much of a side story, so much as it really was the main focus. It was what was going to be the basis of the entire chapter later on, and I guess when you look at it that way, Jonesy saving Peely was mostly the side story. And the Society's logo of this gigantic golden eye really had me believing that they were going to reveal that Midas was their true leader. But that ultimately didn't happen, and it turns out that the Society were actually at war with Shadow. But throughout the season, we learn that Valeria is looking for a great power source, that being Pandora's box, which she opens and causes all sorts of crap to happen. And I know at first I really wasn't feeling it as a replacement for the 0 point, which at least gave us an explanation as to why all of these video game and anime and professional athletes and celebrity singers can all be teleporting to this island. But opening the box resulted in Zeus bringing a bunch of gods to the island and declaring that they were going to exterminate all mortal life that they could find. Yeah, Zeus wanted to be Zamasu real bad. I know that they already gave us a Goku black skin in Chapter 4, but I think if they could have waited a little while and introduced him during this season, which is about a god wanting to destroy all mortals, that would have been much more appropriate. However, there is a little bit of a twist here in that this version of Zeus is a little bit closer to how he is usually depicted in mythology as opposed to the warm, kind-hearted father that you see in the Disney animated film. Turns out that most of the other Olympians are either sympathetic to the mortals or Zeus just annoys them too much for them to want to join in his cause. But who are these good gods aligning with? Hope and the Underground. They're back from the first season. I really like the fact that they were keeping characters from the previous season around and having them be a part of the continuing story, because it really did suck in Chapter 4 to have basically every character except Dr. Sloan lose their relevance as soon as the season ended. So Hope and Jonesy are once again working together to take down Zeus with the help of the gods who don't want to align with their king, and it ultimately works. They defeat him. Meanwhile, away from the war and everything that's going on Mount Olympus, Shadow has assembled to break Midas free and take him away from the island. Now stuck in this strange in-between existence of being partially dead but partially alive, Midas is now free, and he and Shadow reclaim the marigold from the society, which I guess they had abandoned after Hope defeated him, and they sailed off, stopping only for a brief moment to let Midas walk around the Spawn Island as an NPC, which is something we have not seen before or after the very brief moment where this happened, and then they disappeared. For a character who's so beloved by everybody in the Fortnite community, he's one of the most popular characters that they've ever released, and people were eagerly awaiting his return to the game. And for it to ultimately just be like a side story that Jonesy and Hope and even Zeus seemed to have had no knowledge was even happening, yeah, it's a big letdown. I know a lot of people were reading into this event as a way to bring Midas back just to retire him and give him a nice send-off as a thank you to the people who had waited for him to come back for so long, but I'm hoping that this escape is setting up for a future storyline where he will be the main antagonist again. If I'm not mistaken, Fortnite Remix is supposed to end with a remixed version of Midas's device event from Chapter 2, so will he be involved in that in some way? There is this new Meowscles and Midas crossover skin in the current Battle Pass, so who knows what could happen. Now, throughout this Gods Immortal season, Pandora's Box was still out on the map, with Zeus facing imminent defeat because the Underground was able to find a way to destroy his immortality. He opened the box one more time, this time bringing the Wasteland to the island as well as the power-hungry Megalodon. At this point, a large portion of the island is now just barren desert, and a new energy source called Nitro is being pumped out of the ground and is proving to be quite efficient and fueling everything. And after having been opened yet again, Pandora's Box has vanished from the map. Now, Megalodon, being the pure tyrant that he was, didn't take long to establish that he was after that Nitro, but also after another source of power. Yep, Pandora's Box has come into play once again, and there are pieces of it or pieces associated with it that Megalodon desperately wants. Luckily, our heroes from the Underground are still looking after us. Hope and Jones are determined to take the fight to Megalodon and keep him from getting those Pandora powers. However, there's yet again a side story going on in the background, and this one is a little more important. Just before Megalodon arrived on the island, the Oracle, who had been helping Hope and Jonesy take down Zeus, warned them of the Wanderer. This was a mysterious character who could be seen in different places around the map, and if you got too close, they completely vanished. But it was quite clear that this Wanderer was looking for something, and he wasn't the only one. The secret skin of the season was Magneto from X-Men, which didn't really fit the theme of the season, I think, even though they gave him a Wastelander variant. However, it seems that while Jonesy and Hope were trying to now take down Megalodon, Magneto was preparing for a different threat. And it was a good thing he did, because we got an in-game mini-event that had Megalodon complete the pipeline that would fuel his ship with Nitro. He orders the pipeline activated, and Nitro begins to make its way to the ship, with Megalodon ready to tear through the island as soon as it's done. But before the Nitro can make it to the ship, the Wanderer makes himself known. It's Dr. Doom. Now, just before this event, Megalodon was extremely confident in his plan, because he told us that he had a very wise friend that was helping him with it. Maybe he just knew of this Wanderer, and Doom didn't reveal his true identity to him. Or Megalodon's just a little too gullible, and he was easily deceived by the Doctor, and therefore had his plan completely sabotaged. Not only that, but this betrayal leads to the reveal that Pandora's Box was the source of the Nitro all along. And we don't even know if Megalodon was aware of the fact that the Nitro was coming from the box. Either way, Megalodon's plan is ruined, and he exits stage left, just like the gods did, once Dr. Doom arrives on the island and opens the box himself. This takes us into Absolute Doom, a full Marvel season just like the one we got in Chapter 2, where this time instead of Galactus being the main threat, it's our buddy Victor. Pandora's box sticks around again, only this time it actually looks like all of the energy within the box is now gone. And the Underground is back, and now aligned with members of the Avengers and X-Men to try to take Doom down. Fun fact, this season's Battle Pass included new versions of Peely and Jonesy. I thought that was a really nice touch considering that this chapter's story started with Jonesy going to save Peely. Now Doom has his allies on the map as well, with Mysterio and Emma Frost having their little domains that they look after. And it's interesting that at Castle Doom, surrounded by the corpses of the fallen heroes that he has defeated, it's not Doom himself, it's a Doom bot. Now, the real Doom remains hidden somewhere, and we don't know where he is for the majority of the season. But as part of the story, we can find audio logs he's left behind explaining that when he opened Pandora's box, he couldn't absorb all of the energy. It almost killed him. So he's staying away from the island for now as he works on making a new suit of armor that will be powerful enough for him to absorb the remaining energy from Pandora's box that he couldn't claim the first time. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that there would be any more power in Pandora's box. It looks completely depleted out in the wasteland. But for the next several weeks, we watch as Hope, the Oracle, Jonesy, and the rest of the Underground push back against Doom's forces, eventually even leading to the return of Tony Stark to the island. Now, one thing I haven't quite mentioned yet is that throughout this chapter, I wasn't sure whether the old Fortnite storylines were still canon to this one. But Jonesy does bring up the 0 point during an earlier season, and once Tony Stark arrives on the island, Jonesy exclaims, "Tony's back!" So at the very least, this Jonesy is our Jonesy. He's the character that we've been following all these years. And you would think that Hope would have learned to have some faith in him and his assessment of her because she's been having doubts about her ability to stop Doom. Which is a good thing because Jonesy's seen a lot of battles, he knows what to expect in war, and as Hope is starting to have confidence issues and is doubting her ability to handle this newest threat, Jonesy keeps insisting that she has what it takes to get the job done. But the pep talks don't last long because Doom eventually does make his way to the island and Hope has to put her doubts aside and meet him head on in battle. Now, the battle itself, I think, received some mixed opinions, and some people liked it, some people didn't like it. I personally enjoyed it, but it wasn't a spectacular event. It was really weird, though, that Doom decided to attack mid-season and not at the end, or at the very least, maybe he would be defeated, or Hope or Jones would die, and that would lead to Mephisto coming to the island, and us and Doom trying to barter with Mephisto to get whichever characters we wanted brought back to life, and leading to a rematch with Doom or the true final confrontation with him, but that's not what happened. It felt to me like they just wanted to get the storyline out of the way so they could put the focus on all of the collaborations they had planned for Fortnitemares, and I feel like that kind of hurt the season overall because in my opinion, it felt like 2 half seasons being smushed together, and even though separately I think they weren't bad, it just felt off. Then leading us into the current Fortnite Remix season, one of Tony Stark's Rift Beacons is reworked to show us the Ice Spice and Snoop Dogg concert in New York City. Now, I don't know if internally Epic considers Fortnite Remix to be a part of Chapter 5 or just an in-between filler season, but I think it's very important to acknowledge that there is a storyline in Fortnite Remix right now tied to Chapter 5, and that is of Hope trying to get back in contact with her sister Valeria, who we have not seen since Season 1. Hope has apparently disbanded the Underground and is trying to get all of their old allies back together to sort of form a new alliance because Hope says that her artwork can predict the future, and Pandora's box may just be the beginning of all of their troubles. I'm really excited to see where the storyline is going to go once Fortnite Remix is over with, because it would be interesting to see Valeria return and reunite with her sister and them put their past behind them. to go forth and conquer an even bigger threat than either of them could handle alone. I'm also curious what the future holds for Agent Jones, because I've seen a few bigger Fortnite YouTubers suggest that this may be Jonesy's last roundup. Now, I personally think it would be a big mistake for Fortnite to just retire Jonesy as an active character. Like, sure, just send him away for a while and he could come back later if you want to focus on Hope and Valeria. I mean, I just don't see a reason to kill the character off completely. But we won't know what happens to old Jonesy until we get to Chapter 6, and we've still got a few more weeks before that happens. What do you guys think? Was Chapter 5 an improvement for the Fortnite storyline over Chapter 4, or maybe even some of the earlier chapters? What was your favorite season through this chapter? Was there anything that they could have changed that you think would have made the chapter better? Thanks for watching this video, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also support the channel by becoming a member, and you'll get some neat little perks if you do, or you can donate directly to the channel over on my Ko-fi page. Now, I'm gonna go put a gigantic padlock on Pandora's box so that no more power-hungry megalomaniacs can ever open that thing again.